So you will need 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of card. So let's go through. The first one is your base piece, and this is the piece that we will put the pocket on. So this is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Hopefully you can see that. So your base page is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, and you do no more with it. Okay. The next piece you want is going to be your pocket. So your pocket piece, you can see I've written all over this, is 8 3/4 by 7. So the actual piece of card is 8 3/4 by 7. You're then going to score it, and we'll do the scoring in a moment, with it portrait at 1/2 inch, and with it landscape at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Sorry, couldn't read my own writing then. So it's the usual pocket. Now, what I've also done is put a little mark, I don't know whether you can see, where I want roughly, it's to remind me to put a magnet on. So I've put a little mark roughly where I think the magnet will go. I mean, I'm not going to keep to that. It is just to help remind me that I need a magnet. And I find doing this on the pages is actually really, really useful. Because if you have to stop midway, you haven't got to measure everything again. So writing it on, and of course you're going to cover it all, so it's fine. So the next piece you want is going to form your outer flap. So the piece itself is 6 1/2 by 11 1/2. And this time you are going to score it landscape at 1/2 and at 6, and we'll do the scoring in a minute. And again, I've put a little mark there where I want a magnet to go roughly. Well, I don't want the magnet to go roughly, but I want it to roughly go there. And another one there. It's just, as I say, it's nothing more than an aide-memoire. The magnet will go wherever I choose to put it in the end. And then you want one last piece, which is 5 3/8 by 6 1/2. And you're going to score that landscape at 2 inches. Okay, so 5 3/4 by 6 1/2, and you're going to score it landscape at 2 inches. And again, I've put a little mark where I want the magnet to go. So it's going to be 2 sets of magnets in this. Okay, so that's all my pieces. Now I just need to do some scoring. So thank you, Kelly. Yes, it's something, I'm terrible at remembering that I need magnets. And as you can see with that trial one I did, it wasn't until after I put it together that I realised it would have been better with magnets. Which is why it's always a good idea to do a rough one first. Okay, although that isn't a rough one, it is going in the book, but it's going in the book like it is. So the base page, which is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, you don't need to do anything to. The under pocket, which is 8 3/4 by 7, you are going to score, let me find my scoring tool, it's falling to bits, this one. You're going to score portrait at 1/2 inch. And actually, oh, I'm doing it that way now. As long as I remember, I've got to put a magnet in it, isn't it? At 1/2 inch, and then landscape, you're going to do at 1/2 inch. And then that funny thing there means turn it 180 degrees, and you're going to do it at 1/2 inch again. I know I've said it before, but these instructions I will write up as a complete cutting and scoring guide. So that's that. And I need to remember now that the magnet needs to go on that side, but as long as I know the magnet's there, it's fine. So for the outer flap, it's 6 1/2 by 11 1/2, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 6 inches. Is that right? It's written on there, yeah. 1/2 inch and 6 inches. Okay. And then your inner flap, which is 5 3/8 by 6 1/2. You're going to have it landscape, and you're going to score at 2 inches. Okay. I'm just a bit concerned that that's going to show, but I can do it that way, so that's fine. It's the only thing with writing on it, just if the score goes opposite. Okay. So, I'm going to start with my pocket, because that's the first thing that we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is mitre these. So again, into that cross, twist and cut. Into that cross, twist your scissors slightly and cut. Okay. And then I'm going to score and, fold and burnish these. And you really want to burnish these tight, because you actually do want these to lay flat. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do this one. So making sure I burnish it really, really well. And then I'm going to do this one as well. Okay, and burnish that really well. Okay, so that's your pocket. Now your pocket is going to go onto the side of your base. Now, obviously it's up to you. You don't have to put it on the side. That's just where I'm putting it. Where it says magnet is now on the wrong side. So just because I don't want to get in a muddle, I'm going to put magnet there. Okay. So open up its ears. I'm just going to put glue along here. Now I know lots of people use tape. I am never confident enough in my ability to get it straight to use tape, and even if I put glue on top, I think tape is, yeah, it's too quick grabbing for me. And then I'm going to line that up, edge to edge, corner to corner, run my finger along that edge there, just to make sure I am level, which I am. And then what I tend to do is just lift it, slide my hand underneath so that I'm actually holding that flap, so that when you push it back, the flap doesn't move, or the glue piece doesn't move. So I'm just going to do that again. And then because I want to be able to put things in and I don't want them catching on there, I'm just going to put a bit of tape. That's a new one. Let's find an old one. Fiddling around opening new ones, and we're just going to put that down onto there. I don't want it to go over. I have to just move that. So I don't want it to go over the hinge. It's very, very forgiving, this tape. Oops, now I've got a bit of a kink. Why is it when I do it live, it never works right first time? Okay, so I'll just move that out of the way, and that will just mean that when you put something in, it will just slide, it won't catch. Okay, and then we're just going to put some glue on these two edges. What I am going to do first on this one is just mitre that top bit, mitre that top bit. That is absolutely up to you whether you do that. But I'm going to do it because it's going to form part of the actual pocket, and I don't want things catching. So I'm just going to put some glue on either side of this, and then just bring those ears up, fold them in, place it down, don't press it, place it down. Make sure you're happy that it's centred and everything is just hunky-dory. I shouldn't say that, should I? That's like makeup craft. And then we're just going to push those down. There's a bit of glue on that. Get the glue rubber on that later. And that's the first part made. So I'm just going round all of these, turn it over. You can see it's not gone absolutely straight, but hey ho. So that's your pocket. So now what we're going to focus on is our outer flap. So we've got a 1/2 inch score and a 6 inch. So it's 1/2 inch, 6 inch. And on this is our glue tab. So again, I'm just going to mitre it. And I'm going to fold this way. So I'm creating a mountain fold. I'm going to burnish that down. Turn it over, burnish it down. So that's your mountain fold, and then this is going to fold back on itself. So you've created a sort of Z. So if you have a look, you can see that one goes under, that one goes over. Okay, so you're folding them in the opposite directions. And again, I'm really giving this a good burnish. Let me just check I've not missed any comments. And give say good morning to everybody. Thank you. Right, so this is now going to go on the bottom of your pocket. Okay, so I am going to open that up out the way. Put some glue on this glue tab. And again, very, very carefully so that it all lines up together. Just don't forget you've got, whoops, just slip that right off. You've got 3 pieces here, so you really want it to line up. Now you can, if you want to at this stage, put some black tape to just neaten off that edge. I'm not going to. I think, you know, it does neaten it off. I'm just wondering whether to or not. But actually, I'm not too unhappy with that. I think I might just. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape to the edge of that pocket. Can do this perfectly when I'm not live. Scissors, put them down somewhere. Trim that off afterwards. Fold that over. So this is very, very optional. Goodness me. And actually, wish I hadn't started it now, but there you go. Fortunately, this is the back of the page and it won't show. But I'll just try and smooth that out a little bit more. And it is very forgiving, and most little creases will just do that. So that just neatens it off, and then I'll just trim that bit off, and that just gives you a neater edge. Well, it would have done if I'd have spent time and done it properly. Okay, so the final part for this is the inner flap. So the inner flap is only going to flap one bit. So you've got a 2-inch score line. So you're going to fold that back on itself and again give it a really good burnish, and then that is going to fit onto there, but you need to make absolutely sure it's not going to impinge on that hinge. So I'm going to put some glue onto this 2-inch piece. Now obviously none of these sizes are set in stone. I've just done that to make it a bit more interesting. But you know, none of this is set in stone. You can mess about and change it, and that's the good thing with crafting. I mean, there are very few brand new ideas around. You just adapt other people's. The only thing I would say is if you do adapt somebody else's, that you do make sure you credit them with your adaptations. Okay. Right. We just get rid of those bits. So now we're going to work out where we want the magnets. So we want a magnet there to there. See, I've done that the wrong way around. Magnet there to there, and a magnet there and there. So you could put the magnet there and there, but I think it's better to put it on the side, then it's a long way from that one. So I'm not happy that that's straight. I think that's more to do with my cutting than anything else. Okay, so I'm going to have a magnet there and there. So a little bit of tape. A little bit of tape. I can bring it in a bit. I prefer to bring the magnets in if I can, because that just gives you more space to burnish down your paper. So I'm just going to take that off there. Get a couple of magnets. One. And I'm just going to put a little bit of black tape over the top, just to smooth it. Okay, and then I'm going to put another magnet on top of that. With these magnets, slide them, don't try and pull them apart, because they just crack. And then a little bit of tape on the top of that, and pokey tool, just get under there. That's it, like so. Everybody has a different way of doing magnets. This is just my way. Press it down, and there's your other one. A little bit of tape over the top, and a bit of a belt and braces. I like it to be well stuck down. Okay, so there and there, and then as I say, we can go on the side, or we could go at the top. What do we think? Top or side? I suppose the top would be better, really, wouldn't it? So you're going to pull it down and pull it down. So let's put it on the top. So again, all my plans have changed. But hey, that's what crafting is about. So, but the marks remind me that I've got to do it. So a little bit of tape, slide those two apart, put that on there, a little bit of black over the top. Ah, Kelly said the side. Sorry, Kelly. I've gone for the top now. Okay, and then that goes on the top, and a little bit of tape over there. All the time, it's decisions, 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 isn't it? Just get that. I'm trying to do it. Holding it down. You just need to get your pokey tool under there. That's it. That's got it. Just make sure that's straight. Pop that up. Open that, and we'll pop a little bit of black tape on the top of that. There we go. And that is now on and in place. So now the whole thing is ready to decorate. And obviously, how you decorate it is completely and absolutely up to you. So I've cut some pieces to decorate mine with. Cool cats, Gillian. Yes. I've tried others, and I come back to cool cats every single time. They are really strong magnets, and I rarely have a problem. Obviously, if you put layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, but then if you're doing that, you wouldn't need to put the tape on anyway, because it's not going to show through. But yeah, cool cats, they do different sizes, and for me, they are the best ones. but then I tend to think all cats are the best for a lot of things, but there you go. So I'm going to start with the pocket. I've got all my bits and pieces here. Now what I'm trying to do, because paper is very expensive and I'm finding it very expensive, is I'm trying to think about how I best use my paper so that I create enough of an effect with it, but also make the paper go that bit further. So with this one, I've cut myself a piece to go in there. Now I have got all the measurements written down, because I'm never going to remember all of these. So this piece is 7.5 by 1 3/4. Because then you've got the rest of the piece which you can use in various ways. So this is 7.5 by 1 3/4. I'm just going to go around 3 edges of this because it's going to tuck. So I've got a fan going here. I hope it's not making too much noise. It's just, if I open the windows, I sneeze. And that's just going to tuck in under there like that. So I'm just going to put some glue on it. Let me know if the fan is annoying you. It's just a little bit too hot today. And then that goes under there. Not that I'm moaning, I like the sunshine. I could just do with a little less heat, especially when you've got to be indoors working. Okay, so that goes onto there. So from that leftover piece, I've got various decorative pieces to go with it. So this piece cut from there is now 6 1/4. So I took 6 1/4 and 2 1/2. So 6 1/4 by 2 1/2. So I'm going to go round that one. Okay, so all around those edges. And that's going to go onto there like that. Put my glue. Okay. However hard I try to keep this little area clear so that you can see everything, I just keep making a mess. So that's going to go on like that. Now, what you could do is put it on the bottom and create another pocket. I'm just going to keep this plain. So then I've got a piece of cream card. And again, you could cut photo slots out of that. I mean, this is just the basis of a very basic idea so that you can then adjust it. And certainly if I was doing it again, I would do other things with it. But, this was just the basics, and I wanted to show you how you can do it without dyes and things. So that's going to go on to there, like that. So that's your pocket done. Yes. It does make the glue dry more quickly. It can also make the glue runnier. So that's another thing to watch. And I've just noticed I've got a little bit of tape hanging over that edge there. So I'm just going to get in there with my scissors and just trim that off. Okay. So that's the pocket done. And as I say, how you decorate it is very much up to you. If you've got lots of paper and you want to decorate the whole thing, go, go, go. It's just I'm trying to make a lot of memory books. I'm trying to cut down on the amount of paper that I use. Okay, so now we're going to come to this large flap. Bum, 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 big flap, here we go. So for this, you are going to need 2 pieces of paper at 6 1/4 by 5 1/4. So 6 1/4 by 5 1/4. One is going to be your front. So I've chosen, I think, a really nice. These are Stamperia's. What are they called? Silent Sea. So these are Stamperia Silent Sea, and I thought that would look perfect on the front. Are there any spaces left on your workshop? Yes, I haven't really started pushing it out there yet, so I haven't got anybody on it yet. So yes, Kelly, if you're in the Shropshire area, Yes, the details are all on the website. I'll put a link to the website, but it is just simply www.craftyturn.com. So yes, there are spaces left. Thank you for asking. So that's going to go onto there, plain and simple and nice and easy. So we'll just go round the edges. Okay, so normally I would do this before we start, but I didn't this morning. So that's going to go on there, like so. I do like these papers. I love the colour of these papers. I love all the different shades of blue that are in. And then this one, I'm just double checking on my one I did before. Yes, this one is going to go on this side. So you've got a strip, cream, and then a larger bit of pattern. Milton Keynes, it's not too far. And there are loads of quite reasonable hotels in Telford. I mean, it's at Meeting Point House, which is right in the middle of Telford town centre. And there are lots of, you know, I think there's a Premier Inn, there's probably a Travel Lodge, there's a Mercure, there's quite a lot of hotels around. So I've used the back of the front cover page for this. Okay. That goes there, that goes there. So that is that bit done. So now I'm going to come inside like so. So this is your inner flap. So you're going to decorate that separately. So this is the bit we're going to decorate now. And if you look at mine, you can see I've got another little pocket there. So I've got, again, I'm still using that same 8x8 piece. So I've cut, let me find it. I've cut this piece at 6 1/4 by 2 1/4. And I've mounted it, or I will mount it on a piece of card at 6 3/8 by 2 3/8. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go around the edges of that. So far, I've used 1, 2, 3 pieces of paper, just by using up all the little bits. Okay, so that is going to go onto there. Come on, Sarah, focus. I'm using focus now. Okay, so that's going to go onto there like so. And then I've got a piece of cream card which is going to go at the top, which is 6 1/4 by 3 inches. Again, use patterned paper if you want to. I'm just trying to economise a little bit. So I'm going to put that there. So that's going to go onto the top like so. And then, because it's a pocket, thumb where you don't want the glue to be, go around 3 sides, 1, 2 and the bottom. Make sure it's not impacting on that hinge, so lift it slightly like so, and that's that page done. Now what you can do, I haven't got them to hand, where did I put them? Anyway, what you can do is put a little thing on there to show that you're going to lift it up. However, it will come over the back of the page. Okay, sometimes I think it's nice just to leave things as a surprise. So now we're on the inner flap, and I've used a piece that was left over from here. Can't remember where it was, but it was left over from here. And that's going to just go neatly on that 2-inch piece. So this piece is me tell you. 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, so 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And just go around the edge of that. Okay, I'm just going to glue that on, like so. Not glue on my fingers, I'm just being careful. I think that looks quite nice because you've got the oars. I'm just thinking that's probably upside down. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but to me that does look upside down. Oh, I don't know. Is that a 6 or a 9? Do you know what? I'm going to leave it as it is. Just make sure it's not impacting on that. Okay. And then I've got a piece of cream cardigan, 5 1/4 by 4 1/4, and that's going to go onto here. So I think in these days we have to think about the cost of the paper, and I won't compromise on papers. You know, if I'm going to sell a book, I want it to be Graphic 45 or Stamperia, and therefore I have to think about how I can best use that. And then on this side, what I've done is I've used a piece of 12 by 12 because I wanted it to be a continuing pattern. It doesn't have to be. I've just done that. And they are, each one of these is 5 1/8 by 4 1/4. So again, I'm going to go around the edges. Like so. Let's pop that one on. And that one goes on like that. And then this one, just on this side, so. Okay, I'll put some glue on that. Onto there, like that. When I'm doing it, I cut the paper 1/4 of an inch smaller, Kelly, than the size of the card. So then that gives me a 1/8 of an inch border. You can get, and I've got corner placements so that you can be absolutely sure, and they go down to 1/8 of an inch. But you know, I do it so often I can usually do it by eye. Sometimes I don't. And if I'm making a very special album, like a wedding album or something, I will use my proper corner spaces, which I can't get at the moment because there's a pile of stuff on top. But I mean, I use Cool Cats, but yeah, and it just means that it's absolutely spot on. Okay, so that is your page complete. To say you could put a little pull, you'd have to think it'd be better if it was on there. Oh, would it be? I don't know, probably, yeah. You can't really put it on there because it's going to hang over the bottom. So you've got that, you've got that, you've got that, you've got that, and you've got a pocket there, and it all clips nice and neatly together.